Hi guys, sorry I can't be there right now, but I decided to record a video so I could be there. So you can watch me. I'm just getting my little pen. And we're going to be doing Chagai Parak Bet. You might see a couple of my children because the reason I'm home this morning because I have some sick children at home. But hopefully by the afternoon, I'll be in and you can tell me what you think of the video and what you think of the little quiz that followed the video. So we are now in Chagai Parak Bet. If you remember from Chagai Parak Aleph, when we ended off, and I'll open that up so you could see it. So we ended off with Zerubbabel um, and Yoshua Kohen Hagadol and all the people, and we did a little analysis that they listened to, and we saw the Milah Mincha, the key words in the parak. They listened to the words of Hashem, their God, and they listened to Chagai, and their spirit awakened, and they started doing the work. And this is my daughter over here. I don't know if you could see her. We'll see later. But she's one of our sickies that's home with me. Okay? And they listened to Chagai, and they opened up the spirit of Hashem to do the work of the building. So now Chagai is going to continue discussing the building and basically the frustration the people have that we saw similar in Ezra, that the Beit HaMikdash that they see the plans for, the second temple, the second Beit HaMikdash, is not nearly as grand, as beautiful, as glorious as the first temple. If you recall, the first temple, this is the picture of the first temple over here. This is the second temple, but much later at the time of Herod. This was not the beautiful temple they were building now. If you recall from our analysis of Parak Aleph, when it said Bichabda, and with the Kriya Ktiv, the hay was missing, and that meant the idea that God said, I will give glory to this temple, but I'll be missing five things. If you remember what the five things were, and hopefully I remember them right now, what were the five things that were missing from the second temple that were in the first temple? There was no Urim V'Tumim, and there was no Aaron Habrit, there was no Ark, and the Shechina was missing, and I'll just continue. The other things that were missing that we talked about, um, that were missing, there was no Urim V'Tumim, there was no Aaron Habrit, um, there was no fire coming down from heaven, there was no Shechina, and there was no Ruach HaKodesh. So the five things were the Urim V'Tumim, the Aaron, number one, the Urim V'Tumim, number two, that the breastplate that the Kohen Gadol wears. Please don't talk right now, little lady. The fire and the fire coming down from heaven, the Shechina, and finally the Ruach HaKodesh, God, divine presence, basically, inspiration. So they were looking at the second temple that they were building, and they were frustrated. So now Chagai is going to talk to them. So first of all, you need the context for when this took place. This was the seventh month, and it was the 27th day. So now, if you know from the seventh month, Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, Av, Elul, Tishrei. So this month, the seventh month, is the month of Tishrei. And this prophecy was taking place on the 27th day of the month of Tishrei, which is toward the end of Sukkot. And you can imagine, as we discussed, Sukkot is very significant as a holiday for this, because Sukkot was always the holiday for the building of the temple from even the time of the first temple. So this prophecy is taking place on the 27th day of the month of Tishrei. They had started Chagai's first prophecy with the first day of Elul, and now he's giving a prophecy on the 27th of Tishrei, only about 2 months later. Haya Devar Hashem biyad Chagai lemor, the word of God in the hands of Chagai the Navi. Emor na el Zerubbabel ben Shealtiel pachat Yehuda ve'el Yoshua ben Yosadak HaKohen HaGadol ve'el Sherita am lemor. So we see the three players. Once again, God said you should speak to the following three. The first person you speak to is Zerubbabel, who's the pachat, the pasha. That means he's the governor. He's the leader of the Jewish people in exile in Judea, appointed by the Persian government, and he's also direct descendant of Malchut Yehuda of the Davidic dynasty. He's also speaking to Yoshua ben Yosadak. His role is he is the Kohen Gadol. He's also going to be called Shua Kohen Gadol, and he's talking to the rest of the people. And they're called always, by the way, the remnant of the people, because as we know, Most of the people he's not speaking to, because most of the Jews never went back to Judea. They're still sitting in Bavel, and they're still sitting in Persia. Only about 45,000, 42,000, I think, and change Jews returned. And now he says, Mi bachem anishar asher ra'at abayat hazeh. Who amongst you, who is left over, who saw asher ra'ah et abayat hazeh, this bayit, this house, namely the Beit HaMikdash, bichvodo arishon, in its original glory. So who is left over from you, who saw the first temple, Mikdash number one, in its beautiful glory? Uma atem ro'imo to'ata. What do you see now? Halo kamo ka'ayin kibeinechem. This is like nothing in your eyes. In other words, when you see the second temple, and remember, this is not the temple they were seeing now. That's going to be the temple of Herod when he renovated the temple some 3, 4, 500 years later. But what they're seeing is a little tiny building, a remnant, a small little building that is nothing like the glorious first temple. And obviously, as we know, we remember this even from the time of Sefer Ezra, Perek Gimel, when they laid the first plan for the second temple. So the young people were happy. They were blowing trumpets. They were screaming in joy at the prospect of a second temple. What were the older people doing? The people who wore the nishar, the leftovers, who had saw the first temple, they were crying because they knew the halokamohu ka'ayin beinechem. This is like a nothing temple in your eyes. So therefore, you're very frustrated. You see a temple that's not what it's supposed to be. Vata. And now, Chazak Zerubbabel Neum Hashem. You should strengthen Zerubbabel, God says. V'chazak Yoshua ben Yosadak HaKohen HaGadol. And strengthen Yoshua, the son of Tzadok, the Kohen Gadol. V'chazak Kol Am Haaretz Neum Hashem. Strengthen all the people. V'asu, and you should make it. Ki ani itchem Neum Hashem Tzvaot, because I am with you. So the key words here, he says Chazak. Obviously, this is the Milah Mincha, because Chazak is repeated 3 times in this pasuk. And Chazak, as we know, means to be strong. Very similar to at the beginning of Sefer Yoshua, when Yoshua is taking over from Moshe and he feels so inadequate compared to his teacher Moshe, and Hashem keeps saying, Chazak va'amat, be strong, have courage, be strong, have courage. So Chagai is saying, be strong, you should strengthen Zerubbabel, you should strengthen Yoshua, you should strengthen the people. And what should you strengthen to do? They should build. And why should they build? Because I am with you, God says. As a davar asher karati itchem b'teitchem Mitzrayim. The covenant, the Brit, that I made with you when you left Egypt, Baruchi omedet b'tochachem, my spirit is still with you. So you think that God is no longer with us, and what's the proof to that? That this second temple does not have the Shekhinah, does not have the divine presence, and does not have the Urim V'Tumim, and does not have the breastplate, and does not have the iron, does not have the ark, and does not have the Aish, does not have the fire, and does not have the Ruach HaKodesh, the divine spirit. All of these things are symbols that God is with you. Don't worry. Even though the second temple doesn't have any of this, God is still with you. God has been with you since you left Mitzrayim, and God is with you till now. Al tira'u, don't be afraid. So we have Chazak, be strong, and we have don't be afraid. Similar idea. And now we're going to continue. And why shouldn't you be afraid? Kiko Amar Hashem Tzvaot, because Hashem says, Od Achat Ma'ati, there'll only be a little bit of time. V'ani Marish et Hashamayim v'et Haaretz, I will make a great thundering. Here it doesn't just mean thunder, it probably means all, even like an earthquake, an overturning. I will thunder, I will shake the earth in the heavens and the earth. Yam, and in the sea, Charava, and in the dry land. So God says there's going to be shaking and there's going to be quaking. Virashti et kol hagoyim, and I will quake, I will shake amongst all the nations. Uva'u chemdat kol hagoyim, and all of the most precious stuff from the nations will come. Umaleti et habayit hazeh kavod, and will fill this house with glory. So God is basically saying that even though right now you see an empty house that is not glorious and you're very sad, very soon there'll be an overturning, there'll be a great upheaval politically. The world will shake, the world will quake, and all the most precious things will come to this house and fill this second temple with kavod. Kavod means glory. Amar Hashem Tzvaot, Hashem says. And Hashem said, if you don't believe me, how could I make this second temple great? Liya kesef v'liya zav nu Hashem. Who really owned the silver and who really owned the gold? Li hakesef. I am the one who owned the gold. V'liya zav. I am the one who owned the silver. God says. Gadol. Now here is the key line, and we're going to analyze this line for a moment. Gadol yiyeh kavod abayit hazeh. The glory of this house, ha'acharon, the later house, the later temple, the last temple will be as glorious, actually more glorious, mina rishon, from the first temple. Hashem says, Ubamakom hazeh attain shalom, and I will make peace in this place. Neum Hashem Tzvaot, Hashem the Lord of hosts says. Let's focus on that pasuk again. I'm going to translate it again very carefully, because you're going to have to focus on it. It's a key pasuk to the entire prophecy of Chagai. Gado yiyeh kavod habayit hazeh acharon min harishon. The glory will be greater, gadol, more great, the glory of this later house than the earlier house, indicating that the second temple will be more glorious than the first, and actually there's no real implication here. There'll be another. This implies will be the later temple, the last temple, and it'll be more glorious than the first temple, God says. And so the question is a couple of questions, and we're going to end with these questions. We're going to discuss some of them now and then discuss the rest in class tomorrow. The first question is, how is it that this second temple will be more glorious than the first? In reality, we know the second temple never got the Urim V'Tumim, and never got the Aron, and never got the Eish, and never got the Shechina, and never got the Ruach HaKodesh. All these 5 manifestations of God's glory never made it to the second temple. So is this really true? How is the second temple more glorious than the first? And secondarily, a question, this seems to deny the fact that there will be a third temple, because Chagai is saying that this second temple is the Acharon. And Acharon seems to mean the last. We're going to analyze that a little more. But God seemed to be saying that the later temple, meaning this one would be more glorious than the first, seemed to deny that there'll ever be a third temple. Chagai seemed to be saying there'll only be 2. So let's just look at Rashi on the first question. How will the second temple be more glorious than the first? Ravush Gado Yiyeh, more glorious will be the second, the later temple than the earlier. Rav and Shmuel both comment on this. Chadamar, one of them said the following: Babinyan, in its building. V'chadamar bishanim, in its years. So one said the building will actually be more glorious than the first. Perhaps this is a reference to later on in the building of the temple at the time of Herod, when eventually the second temple did become a glorious looking building, but it took a long time, as we know, hundreds of years. And one says it'll be more glorious because it will be longer in years than the second temple, than the first, sorry. Cheshnei Bayit Rishon Arba Me'ot Ve'eser, because the first temple only stood for 410 years. So here's my little 410 years. Ubayit Sheni Arba Me'ot Ve'esrim, the second temple will stand for 420 years. So we have 2 temples. So how will the second temple be more glorious than the first? Either because the building will be greater and more beautiful, as we see that eventually, not now but later at the time of Herod, the second temple will be one of the most beautiful buildings in the world. And this is the model from the Holy Land Hotel of that temple that you've all seen. And it's probably a pretty accurate model. And it was made with marble and with gold, and it was really glorious. The second answer is that it will take longer, because while the first temple only lasted for 410 years, the second temple will last for 420 years. And here is a facsimile of that temple coming down from heaven. This might be the third temple. And the question we'll end with, as we said, is why did it say in Chagai that the later temple will be greater than the first? That seemed to imply that the second temple will be the Acharon, the last temple, when, as we know, the second temple wasn't the last temple. There was also a third. And now I will say goodbye. And Meira, say goodbye. Say bye, Meira. Say bye. And we'll see you in class tomorrow.